We are now going to go ahead and begin our media availabilities. We are joined by Joey Logano, driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford for Team Penske. We'll go ahead and open it up to questions. If you have one, please raise your hand and we will get a mic over to you. Go right here to Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. What do you think the racing is going to be like with this added downforce?
I guess I'm unsure right now. I think a few years back when we had the bigger spoilers and the bigger splitters on the cars, I know we're a little more than that again. I guess I think of that a little bit. I guess it's kind of hard to say. After the few laps that we've run so far, man, you can hustle the heck out of the car. I know I was huffing and puffing after a couple qualifying laps at a time out there. So you're just driving the car so hard. I've never gone around this racetrack that fast before. It's incredible. So I have not been around another car, behind another car. I can't honestly tell you what I think it's going to be like until we get practicing tomorrow and we get around another car. We just been in qualifying trim all day. Most cars have, almost all of them have. There's a few of them that ran a few more laps than others, but I haven't been around another car to know yet. So just kind of unsure at this point of what it will be like. We'll see.
We'll go ahead to Wolfgang right in the middle.
I have a follow-up, Joey. Did you test the car already with added downforce? Is this a different feeling, different driving behavior?
Yeah, I didn't test the car out here. So this is my first laps with this rules and all that horsepower, which took me a second to get used to again. I was like, wow, this thing's got some good power, which was kind of fun. But, it's like I said, there's so much for us to learn still. Whether it's the 550 package or the 750 package, it's hard for us to really know exactly what we need right now and what's going to go fast and what we need to race. We just don't know, which makes this part of the season really fun and this West Coast swing really challenging because you can't really adjust your cars too much in the amount of time you have before you got to get another car back out here. So it's definitely been a challenge for all these race teams right now to be able to figure all that out. But it's been a fun challenge, and it presents a great opportunity to figure it out first. And, every time we show up to the racetrack, I go, what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like. We got to wait and see.
Are there any other questions?
Sam Brennan, Blaze Radio. Obviously, Blaney and Keselowski had a good practice run. How much communication is going between you guys sharing information, especially with the new package at the track?
Yeah, they unloaded fast and were able to carry a lot of speed throughout practice. So we've been looking at what they're doing, and there's not much time from when practice ends to when qualifying starts to be able to change really big items and change things in a quick enough time to get into tech. There is a lot of time between practice and qualifying, but all the cars have to go through tech, like you see out the window over here. So you don't have much time to do a lot of things. So by the time you communicate about it, talk about it, try to make some decisions, and give your team enough time to be able to put that in the race car, you're out of time. It's only like 40 minutes or so that you have between. I don't know, it's somewhere around 40 minutes. It might be longer or shorter, but it's pretty close to that. We took what we can, and kind of saw some balance differences, and I had the opportunity to kind of look at a lot of their stuff, talk to them, and try to make some decisions to get a little faster. We're not that far off. We're just a little bit. But it doesn't take much, and it's nice when you have a teammate that's the fastest car, because you can look at it and say, all right, I know exactly what they're doing. So that's a nice advantage to have right now.
We'll go over to your left, Joey, in the front.
Kurt Hansen, ESPN Radio. Joey, with the championship out of the way now, a baby out of the way now, has that changed?
He's not out of the way yet.
Yeah, well, you got a long ways to go, brother. Well, you know what I mean.
He's not technically in the way, though, either.
Well, yeah,
so.
and you weren't carrying it. It wasn't an extra passenger. Has that changed you as a person and a driver and your approach to this season? And if so, how?
It's changed me a lot as a person. It hasn't changed me as a driver really at all. But your priorities change, and the things that you want to do is different than what it was before. Like I want to go home. I want it's this West Coast swing. I used to want to stay out here, and do things in between the races, and especially between Phoenix and California, there's a lot of things we can do to help promote our sport in the West Coast and in the LA area. So I really like doing that, and I'm still going to go out a little early for it, but I'm going to go home. I want to go home and see, little man and my wife, and, be able to spend a little time there. So, for me, my perspective has changed a little bit, and what's most important in life and all that, that's changed a little bit. But when you get to the racetrack, you have to be able to flip a switch when you get in that race car or when you walk into the garage and you're just full on race mode and focused in, because to compete against the best, you can't have distractions. Not that they're distractions, but you got to be 100% focused on the job at that point. And then it's also healthy to be able to go home and flip that switch back off and not be thinking about the race car all the time. And I think that's something that kind of helps keep you fresh when you get back to the racetrack. So I really worked on that a lot last year, and it was pretty challenging, because you kind of get, just like any new parent, you get a little overwhelmed at times. You're saying, I can't do anything as good as I want to. So you just have to really compartmentalize exactly what you want to do. And that was a challenge for me, but I wouldn't say I haven't figured out yet, but I'm closer to where it was last year. So that's good.
We'll go right here to Bob, then to Reed, then to Chris.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. It seemed like some guys might have been spinning the tires a little bit, just getting out of the garage with the extra horsepower. Will that impact restarts at all, the fact that you haven't done a restart with this much horsepower this year?
Yeah, wheel spin wasn't too big of a deal. It was a little bit at Atlanta, not much last week in Vegas. Wheel spin will probably come into play here, especially where the restart zone is and all that, with the new off of turn 2, the new turn 2, or 4, the new turn 4. That's what it is. Gosh, it gets me. I call it the bank corner and the flat corner because I can't get it right. I don't think I ever can get it right. But anyways, they'll change that part of it, just going through the gears, right? The ratios, all that stuff is different than what we had the last week. And, and this place is always fun for restarts, because you get that dog leg and cars get wide, and you have such a wide entry to turn 3 where you can go way below the yellow line. And not that there's much grip down there, but there's room to do something. When cars make mistakes or go up the racetrack, you can get around and do stuff. So I wouldn't expect that piece to change at all. I think, the racing is going to be every bit as good as it was last year, with the chance of it being better. That's kind of my thought at this point. We'll have to wait and see, but I do think restarts are still going to be chaos here for the first couple laps, like we've seen in the past.
Go to Reed.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire. Given the variety of track services, packages, everything that you're starting the season with, how long do you think it's going to be before you're relatively confident that what's coming off the truck is what you need?
Probably not until we get to the track the second time. I think we won't take off as far off. Like even when you go to maybe a Texas for the first time, won't be as far off as we were when we went to Atlanta the first time. But when you go to Texas the second time, you're going to be pretty much have a really good idea of what you need, especially after you go through a race once and you realize, okay, this is most important. I need this in my car. As a driver, you know what you're looking for, and as a crew chief and the engineers, you're all talking about the same thing. Everyone's on the same page, and you know what you're building the car for, and what you need most out of it. So right now, we all think we know, well, this was important at Atlanta, and this was important in Vegas. Is it going to be important in Texas? Some of it, yes. Some of it, we don't know. But like I said, that's the fun challenge right now. That's anytime there's new rules, there's that challenge that comes along with it, which is it's a fun piece that I enjoy, and it really gets you thinking outside of your box that you had before. After running the same rules for a few years, you get so refined, and you think of these little changes, and now you're thinking more broad, big things, and that's pretty fun.
We'll go to Chris and then finish with Lee.
ChrisKnightCatchFest.com. Joey, there's a lot of talk this week on various networks and platforms whether or not Team Penske is speaking too soon. Is all that talk justifiable?
Speaking too soon in as what? Peaking. Oh, peaking. I thought you said speaking. And I was like, oh, what did we say? I don't know if there's maybe we haven't reached our peak. right? Can't be peaking too soon if you didn't get to your own peak. At least that's my opinion. No, I mean, it's so early in the season, you can't. I mean, things are going to, like I said, it's going to be changing week after week of who the dominant car is. But I will say, yeah, we came out of the gates pretty strong, and I'm super proud of that. But I wouldn't say we're peaking too soon. No way. I wouldn't want to think that way if we were either.
We'll go ahead and finish with Lee.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. I have 2 questions, and hopefully this one won't be the soundbite of the week.
It was.
I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's okay.
Thank you. How crazy is that wind out there, and how do you find the balance between, feeling what the balance is in your car and how much the wind is upsetting the ride?
Yeah, I mean, the wind last week was a pretty big deal in Vegas. When you have that wind that we had in practice that was blowing down the back straightaway into turn 3, that was really upsetting our cars quite a bit. It's the same for everybody, but it's funny sometimes when you have a gust of wind and the car in front of you moves and then you move and everyone slides up the racetrack together when there's a gust of wind because obviously you can't see it coming, right? So, it's tough in practice because you're setting up the car in conditions that aren't going to be there the next day. And that's just one of the variables, right? There's wind, but there's the amount of rubber, there's the track temperature, the amount of cars that are on the racetrack. All that stuff really plays in practice when you're thinking about what you're going to do for the race. So you're trying to think of those variables while you're tuning on your car. And last week, entry to 3 was not our strong suit in practice. And when the race started, it was okay. And we made some adjustments to fix it, but the wind was bigger than anything that we adjusted to fix it. The wind went away on Sunday. So here, I thought it was going to affect us more. I don't really feel it right now. It seemed like it was, there's so much more grip than the last time we were here. I don't think we've gotten to the point that we feel the small pieces of the wind yet.
And finally, there was a report out this week that Rockingham is trying to there's new owners and they're trying to getting it back together. And you ran that track kind of later in your career. Not this late, but you got the opportunity to run a truck there, and kind of wanted your feeling on, do you think that would be a viable location to go back to for NASCAR?
Absolutely. I think Rockingham's one of the best racetracks there is. With the surface the way it is, and I haven't been there in a few years, so I don't know, over the winters and things if it's worn out more. But we've tested there. I tested there. I can't tell you how many times I've made laps around that racetrack early in my career, and it's always so much fun because you had these huge swells, that were they're in the center of the corner, and the car go up and down, kind of like Atlanta. And you had a surface that was so wore out, and you could run the top, the bottom. There's just no grip. Anywhere you looked, there was no grip. And that was fun. It was so much fun. It was hard to test because you're saying, was it the change or was it the tires wearing out? You couldn't ever figure out what's what. But the racing was so much fun. And you had the cars that you just, some would be fast in the short run, some were good on the long run, and I had a great time. I only raced an ARCA race and a truck race there, but boy, I loved it.
All right. Thanks, Joey. That's all the time we have.
He had one more. Are you just going to leave him out?
To follow up on what Lee said, though, they were talking about improvements would include resurfacing the track. So if they resurface the track, wouldn't it be...
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. No, don't resurface. That's fine. I don't know if that goes all the way to the new owners, but don't repave it. Yeah, you got to start all over. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool the way it is.
Thanks, Joey. Good luck this weekend. All right, we are going to go ahead and continue our media availabilities. We're now joined by the driver of number 34 Dockside Logistics Ford for Front Row Motorsports, Michael McDowell. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
Go ahead and open it up to questions. If you have one, please raise your hand, and we'll get a mic over to you. We'll start right here with Lee in the front.
Hi, Lee. Wonderful.
Lee Spencer, RacingVoice.com. Everybody else, we're asking them about the package and how it feels to have the horsepower pack. How was your first practice?
Yeah, it's fun. We had the horsepower back, like you said, but a lot more downforce, and you had to really push yourself to go that fast. You're just muscle memory, and you're used to having some lift points and brake points, and you just had to really push yourself. At least I did, to get that speed out of it. I mean, we're going around here so fast right now. It was fun. I was joking with my crew chief, Drew Blickensurfer. He first run I felt pretty balanced, and then I looked at the speed and I saw I needed to pick up like a half second, and I said, oh, it's not balanced now. When you got to push it that hard and take it to that next level, it's fun to see if you can do it and push yourself to that point. Yeah, there's a ton of grip out there. Obviously the downforce is a big part of that, and cool temperatures this morning and cloud cover and all that. It's kind of like the perfect storm. But as we get rubber on the racetrack and as the sun sits on it during the day here, it'll definitely get a little bit slick.
We'll go in the back with the red shirt.
Hi, Devin Henry, Sports 360 AZ.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How about you, man?
Good. I think we talked earlier this year, right?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
man.
see? I got a good memory.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No. We talk about two questions, first of all. We talk about all the amenities here now for the fans. I want to know a little bit about you and your team. How has this change directly affected you and your team in the garage?
Well, we have space now to jack up our car, which is nice. The old garages, you'd have to use a short jack because you'd be hitting the door of the guy next to you as you're trying to get your car up on scale. So just to be able to breathe a little bit and have all your equipment there and be able to work in a somewhat controlled environment is nice. And for me personally, I was always worried about knocking a fender off, getting in and getting out of your garage, just because it was so tight. And so it's nice to have the space, and it's amazing, and it's really cool what they've done here at ISM Raceway. It's pretty cool.
And I know that you don't live here anymore, but is there anything when you come back to Arizona that you do that's special or something different than you don't do on a regular race weekend?
Yeah, Mexican food. I don't know if you guys know, but East Coast Mexican food really is terrible. And so being from the West Coast and being from here, that's the one thing I look forward to the most is coming back and getting some good Mexican food, because you just don't get it in North Carolina.
We'll go to Wolfgang here in the middle, and then down here to Bob.
My friend from Germany.
Yeah, you have a good memory. Congratulations. Yeah. I want to go back to the first question with the added downforce. In principle, can you test it in a simulator before you go with a race car on the track?
Yeah, so you can, obviously a lot of the manufacturers, all the manufacturers have simulations and simulators. So I was able to spend some time this week getting prepared. But the thing about simulator that you still can't duplicate is it doesn't hurt when you hit the wall. So you're a lot more brave on the simulator than you are in real life. The corners come up a lot quicker than they seem like in the simulator. So, it's a very helpful tool, but nothing is quite like being on the racetrack in the race car.
We'll go to Bob.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Are the faster speeds because of more downforce or the different tire?
Yeah, all the above. I think, the downforce is a big part of it. I mean, it doesn't matter if we're at Martinsville, you still want more downforce. I mean, teams fight all day long to try to gain a few pounds of downforce, and we've stacked on a couple thousand. So we have a lot of downforce now, and like I said, it was fun. I had to really challenge yourself just to break through that. You don't have to slow down, it's going to stick. And so the entry speeds are pretty significant.
Are there any other questions, Chris?
I'll wait for it.
Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Michael, I know you guys got started off the year on a good foot, but you guys have backed it up at Atlanta and Las Vegas with good qualifying runs, but you haven't had the finishes you want. What's different at Front Row Motorsports that has allowed you guys to come out of box swinging with so much speed?
Yeah, so like you said, we've had great speed, qualified well at Atlanta, qualified well at Vegas, got a car in the third round at both mile and a halfs, which is really impressive for our group and our organization. And I think it's a combination of a really good off season, expanding to 3 cars, which allowed us to hire some great personnel, and then just building momentum from last year. At the end of last year, we were starting to sneak into that low 20s, teens more consistently, and we were able to carry that momentum into 2019. And obviously, this rule package is worked to our favor for now. And that's the hardest part, is the best teams are going to develop the fastest, and so we just got to be able to keep up over this next stretch of 10 weeks as those guys are figuring things out. We got to stay right on them. Yep.
Go to Lee.
Lee Spencer, you mentioned Drew, and I saw the two of you conferring after practice. And what is it about the two of you and the chemistry? It seems like you guys are, just clicked right away.
Yeah. So I have, I'll be careful how I say this because I don't want to be one of your sound clips for this week. I've watched Drew from a distance for years, and I've pursued him with the last 4. And, I just knew that that's the kind of guy that I'm looking for, personality-wise, fire, spark, leadership. He has all the things that I was looking for in a crew chief. And so when the team decided to move Derek Finley, my last crew chief, into the competition role, that's the first guy I asked for. And it looked like it wasn't going to work out. And, fortunately, things came together for us kind of last minute. And he's just got great leadership, and he's got a lot of fire. And I like it. That's what I was looking for. Yep.
All right. Are there any other questions? All right. Thanks, Michael. Good luck this weekend. Ahead and continue our media availabilities for today. We're now joined by Daniel Hemric, driver of the number 8 Okuma Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. We'll go ahead and open up for questions. If you have one, please raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you.
That was fun.
We'll go over here to Chris Knight.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Evaluate your first 3 races of your Cup season, if you would, please.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind of emotions, I feel like. First off, take part in my first Daytona 500 with Richard Childress Racing at the Cup level, and have all the things that happened throughout that event, and then be running inside the top 10 inside 25 to go, and obviously get caught up in Daytona. And we had glimmers of hope, and the biggest thing I think we took out of the first race was knowing our communication was where it needed to be. All the things that we had done throughout the off season to prepare as a group and try to get over the hurdles that you face throughout the first 2 to 3 months of a year, I feel like we had already overcome a lot of that stuff before we got to Daytona. So that was a positive, and that showed when we got to Atlanta. We had good speed and good drivability in the car, and by the time the race came to fruition for us, our speed was good, and we were able to drive through the field and have another solid shot at a solid finish. And we had a right front tire come apart that took us out of that. So, but the one thing that particular race did for us was gave us a confidence as a group that if they were able to give me something close to what I wanted and what I needed, that we could perform at a high level. And it's a way better anytime you're with a new group to have that earlier than later in the year, because it gives all of us confidence that those days when you unload and you're not where you want to be, that you're working towards a common goal of everybody being able to execute. And if you get to that point, then you'll be able to have success. And going to Vegas, we just missed it as a company. Speed-wise, we did everything we could to build as much speed in our race cars, and we didn't lack any of that. So at least single car, and just the ability to have, needing maneuverability and all the stuff that you need at Vegas as the tires come up the pressure and get hot. And with the new package, the aero is so sensitive that we just didn't do a great job of preparing for that event. So luckily we had Atlanta to fall back on as far as what we do want moving forward. And I think we've been put through a lot of different things already as a group, but we've able to overcome and continue to smile and put our heads down and work, and that's what's going to keep us moving forward.
All right, we'll go to Wolfgang and then down here to Lee.
Wolfgang Monzer from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. When you made the move to Cup, what was the biggest technical challenge driving this Cup cars?
Honestly, I don't think the challenge of the driving has been the biggest challenge. I think it's been processing all the people and data and and outlets you have for resources. You know, that's the biggest thing from any level I've ever been a part of to the cup level. And then knowing that because you have those avenues, you can take a lot off of yourself and lean on those guys, lean on the data and stuff that you have to kind of decipher throughout any given race week. And I think I'll just get better at that, at that whole process as this whole deal goes, because it's just something that's new and you got to get comfortable with it. The challenge of the cars themselves, everybody's gouging and trying to do the best they can with what they got. But it's all the little details that make or break you, and hopefully we're honing in on what we need.
Go to Lee.
SpencerRacingBoys.com. Does it seem like the cars have, when you go back and forth from Xfinity to Cup, does it feel like the cars slowed down on the Xfinity side or with the new speed and the new package, is that kind of a benefit to you because you're kind of starting, I guess, picking up where you left off with Xfinity?
Yeah, I feel like the corner entry speed, is pretty relative, from the Cup Series to the Xfinity Series, currently. I think, last year, jumping back and forth, you felt more of that, process slow down when you got out of the Cup car and got back in the Xfinity car, and they're way more paired up now. Just the corner speeds in the Cup car are substantially faster. That's the biggest thing that still gets your attention from one to the other. I haven't been able to do it this year, package to package. But hopefully I get a chance to later in the year at some point. But I think just because the corner speed is so high, it's so much more demanding on the drivers and the teams, because we're asking the car to do more and we're asking the drivers to do more mid-corner. And because of that, it's putting that much more pressure on these race teams to have the race cars that we need to be able to go do what we want to do with them. I'm having to lean on Luke a good bit, but he's also, I think, been open to things that I feel like have really targeted a balance that I need or I've needed in the past. We felt like Atlanta, we both went off a lot of our past experiences and things that we knew would translate into a good race car and race trim. And by doing that, we had a very good race in our eyes going for that early in the year, and just didn't work out. But I think, we're still building that trust, but I think he knows, he had my back after we had issues at Atlanta, and I had his back after I felt like we didn't do a great job at Vegas. So those are the things that you're going to have as a new group together, but we both are working toward the same goal, and I think that's important.
Are there any final questions? Jim?
JimHunterMotorsport.com. It seems, though, would you agree that the organization as a whole seems to have speed compared to a lot of others, and it seems more about translating that speed into a good result on Sunday?
Yeah, our speed is unbelievable. I was talking to a couple guys in the garage, for about last week. I mean, it's not that nobody wants their cars to be as fast as ours. Like, we've done an incredible job with the package of figuring out what it needs by itself to make that raw speed, which is something that as a company we haven't been able to do in the past. And we may have been too far on our own island, where you may have never been able to achieve the balance to make it race. And I think we're trying to do the things we can to backpedal, but the good thing is we have that little bit of buffer that we can feel like we can confidently give up and still put some more drivability in these race cars, but know that we know how to make them go fast. It's more frustrating when your car drives great and you have no speed. So we've been on both sides of it, or I have at certain points in my career. So that part of it I feel fortunate to have. The guys at ECR and Chevrolet and everyone back home are doing the things that we need to get to that point. We just got to figure out for a balance what we got to have to race better. And, Austin and myself both are working as hard as we can, from simulator stuff to hand in hand with the guides each and every day on our builds, trying to make sure we're targeting the right things, because this early in the year, if you get behind, it's going to be hard to get caught up. So we think we're on the front side of the speed. We just got to get a little bit more on the other side of the drivability.
How important is it in this organization's case to have the raw speed up front? I mean, I know you're not satisfied with the results so far, but that's an important starting point, is it not?
Yeah, it's definitely an important starting point, because like I said, we've been on the other side where you just didn't know what to do or how to get to the speed. So that's not our weak point by any means. If anything, it's our strongest suit out of all the cars in the garage. But we also know we can't, fall like rocks and be 15th to 20th and be back there racing all day and think we're going to give ourselves a shot. We know we got to extremely improve on that side of it to give ourselves and our partners the opportunity to have a shots at solid finishes and race wins. And the speed is great, but if you can't drive the thing in dirty air, which is a lot of, then you're not going to be productive, and that's what we got to work for.
Are there any other questions? All right. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Good luck this weekend. We will now wrap up our media availabilities for today with Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 Skittles Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Thanks for joining us today, Kyle.
Sure.
Go ahead and open it up for questions. Please raise your hand and we'll get to you as soon as possible. We'll start right here with Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. Since you got to drive all three vehicles in one weekend last weekend at the same track, it seems like you would be in a position to be able to compare what they feel like. Because everybody's been speculating, oh, it kind of drives like a truck or whatever. What does the new package feel like? Is it closer to Xfinity or truck now that you've gotten to drive both?
To me, my comparison's always been closer to trucks than the Xfinity cars. The older Xfinity cars, say, back before the COT Xfinity cars, so whatever the Koi cars were, I don't remember what year those were, certainly 09, but I don't remember when it switched, but those cars resemble a little bit closer to what the Cup cars are right now, just with the big spoilers and the reduced power and things like that, the feel that you get and how you drive those and how hard you drive those through the corners and how you try to keep it as close to wide open as possible. That's kind of the similarities that I'm seeing.
We'll go in the back with the blue shirt.
Sam Brennan, Blaze Radio. Saw yesterday Russell Westbrook rocking your M&M's racing jacket. What did you think about that?
I don't know whether he's a fan or if that's just a fashion statement, but either way, he looked really good wearing it, so I appreciate that.
And then also saw you guys in Brexton were at the dunes again. How did this trip compare to last time you guys were out there? How is he coming along?
Yeah, it was fun, super fun. We went on hours-long rides, and he enjoyed every minute of it. So, certainly I left him home for a couple of them because the boys wanted to go on some 10 out of 10 rides, where it's a bit harsh and rough, and so he's a little too small for those. But the rides that he was able to go on and Mom went on as well too were pretty fun. So it was a good experience. He's loving it each time we go out there, and getting more and more accustomed to it.
We'll go down here in the front to John.
John Hervelin, New Mexico Motorsports Report. So your wife tweeted the photo of you guys on Camelback yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Brexton's like, he's not a baby anymore. Like, how much longer are you gonna be like tossing him up in the air after winning? Like, are you gonna do it as when he's a teenager? Like,
that's why I work out, man. Got to keep going for him. But yeah, throwing him up as a teenager, that'd be pretty funny. He'll be throwing me up by then. He is certainly grown up a lot over the course of the last year and a half, especially, and it's been super fun to get him out. And he doesn't quit, and neither does his mom. So it's always off doing something, off to the next thing. And when we're at home, he's got other play groups that he goes to and karate and things like that. So he's got something to do about every day. So he's pretty versatile in about everything right now.
We'll go to Bob.
Bob Hockris, Fox Sports. Is the increase in speeds in the Cup cars due to increased downforce or different tires?
I think increased downforce, just, the speeds. Anytime you put downforce on cars, you're going to go faster. So I'm not sure what the tire differences are from last year to this year. I've heard that the compound on the rights is actually harder. So, I feel as though that the speed comes from the on-throttle time and the grip and the amount of speed that you're carrying through the mid-corner that just keeps the speeds higher all the way around.
We'll go all the way to the back to Devin.
Devin Henry, Sports 360 AZ. If I recall, you were pretty good when you were a youngster in the Xfinity Series. Now you're a teammate with another one, Christopher Bell, who finished behind you in practice. What's the dynamic like working with Christopher Bell when you're in the Xfinity Series?
He's good, super attentive, and certainly looking for anything that he can do to get better and pick up on and things like that. So after practices, he's coming over in my hauler or whatever and kind of picking my brain and things like that. Last week, certainly, he ran really good last week, was right on me there at the end, and had some good racing, some good battle kind of going on. And then this week as well too, so he's certainly wanting to get better. I know that he knows where his next step is to try to get to the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, and to do that, he's gonna be competing against me 6 more times this year. I'm sure he's gonna want to beat me, and to have the opportunity to have him do that won't be fun on my behalf, but certainly will be for him.
Go right here to Reed.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire. You and a number of drivers have said the tire's harder. Goodyear says it's designed to wear more and run cooler. Can it be both?
I don't know how you can have a harder tire that wears more to run cooler. So, I again, like I said, I don't know. That's just what I heard, that the compound was harder on the rights. So, as far as the tires go and what they brought here, certainly I feel like we're, if I had to be picky and choosy, which typically I am, then I would say that we're on too hard of a tire. But that's every single week we would probably all agree to that as a collective group of the drivers. So, that's no fault of theirs. Just they're trying to obviously be on the safe side and make sure that, that the race is not their problem and that it's our problem.
We'll go down here to the front to Pat.
Pat DeCola, NASCAR.com. I was talking to Kevin Harvick earlier, and he said that your relationship over the years has evolved into like a healthy rivalry with mutual respect, but that he still enjoys beating you more than anybody else. Is he that guy for you?
Yeah, absolutely. There was certainly a time where Harvick and I, we probably both would agree that if neither of us showed up at the racetrack anymore, that we would totally be okay with that. But now it's kind of resurfaced a little bit differently, where I feel as though we feel like when we get to the racetrack, we know we'd much rather be able to beat each other, and we've done it way more respectfully over the course of the last, 2014 probably, since then. So I don't know if that was just his move to SHR and the relationship that I had with Tony, and Tony kind of telling Kevin, like, hey, give him some slack or whatever, but it's definitely come more from his side than my side as far as the friendliness, I guess you'd say. So it's nice to be able to have that relationship with guys in the garage area. You don't have to be friends with them, but you do know that you have to respect them. You do know that you have to have an opportunity to go out there and race door handle to door handle or bumper to bumper and know that you're not going to get wrecked. And Kevin and I have that going right now, so hopefully we can keep that going that way. And there's some others out there that could certainly learn a few things.
Are there any final questions for Kyle? We'll go to Lee, and then we'll finish up with Jeff.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. Did he really offer to give you a hug after last week's race?
I didn't hear him, but I heard somebody afterwards tell me about that. So I didn't hear him and I didn't see him. So my blinders were on. I was seeing red.
We'll finish right here with Jeff.
I guess I'm having trouble understanding what this race is going to look like, because if it's so
Why
much...
worry about it? Why do you have to dwell about it? Just turn on the damn television come Sunday and watch the damn thing.
I want to know. I want to
Don't
understand.
predict the future, because when you're wrong, then you look like a moron. And when you're right, what do you get to do? Gloat to everybody that you were right?
Be like, I called it.
Whoop-de-damn-do.
That's fair.
Do you have anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
All right. With that, thank
All right.
you, Kyle.
You got it.
Good luck this weekend.
I don't know what it's going to be, okay? I don't know. I don't want to know. Let's just race it out.